Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The topic of the webinar today is how to effectively manage payments and logistics during the festive rush. The festive season is a crucial time for e-commerce industry. It has been observed in the past that festive sales have accounted for almost 30 to 40% of overall annual sales for many D2C and e-commerce platforms. However, sailing through the festive season is not always a smooth ride for e-commerce platforms. They can face a lot of challenges related to shipping and payments due to sudden spike in the demand. In this webinar, we'll try to address some of these challenges and talk about a few ways in which e-commerce platforms can harness the full potential of the upcoming festive season and accelerate their business growth. We have the company of two industry leaders today, Mr. Parinay Idkan and Pritesh Patil. Parinay Idkan is the co-founder and CEO of Shiplite, a leading logistic automation and fulfillment platform. He comes with more than 7 years of experience in digital marketing and e-commerce. His aim is to create an ecosystem wherein business of any size having shipping needs can seamlessly handle its logistics management with cost efficiency. Mr. Pritesh currently heads strategic partnership at Cashfree Payments. He comes with over 18 years of experience spanning across industries such as SaaS, ERP, and fintech. He has worked in senior leadership roles at organizations like Tally, Marg ERP, and NetWin Software. I welcome both of you to the session today.
Thank you for that introduction, Siddharth. Pleasure to be a part of this today's session.
Thank you very much, Siddharth.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll start the session with a brief opening comment from both our speakers. Pritesh, if you would like to start the session.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Siddharth. So I think it's very relevant to have this conversation at the moment, right? I think after COVID, or we are still part of COVID, but the businesses are reviving and we could see sales is shooting up. And if a customer coming in and buying something, and if he's not able to buy, or he failed to buy at the moment while he liked the product, I think that's going to be the biggest disappointment anybody could have. And I think if we be cautious about those disappointments should not happen. So I think that's the way we can discuss, and I think some way the preparation can help. And preparation always helps, right? It always helps to ensure that maybe a drawback or maybe a downfall should not happen during the peak. So I think it's very good to have this conversation forward. I'm sure we already seen many use cases wherein businesses coming, but somewhere our systems are not been ready and it has been dropped. I think we should not have that scenario forward. That we can discuss it. Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you, Pritesh, for those words. Parinay, would you like to share your views as well?
Right. So, Siddharth, I was recently reading a report which mentioned some growth in numbers. So, post-COVID, e-commerce is one of the industry which has benefited, contrary to what's happened across the globe. E-commerce has been moving opposite because of the obvious reason of people not willing to step out now. So, the e-commerce projection for 2023 and 2025 have grown by 160% post-COVID. So if the industry was marked to reach peg at X number, it's 160% additional to that, and that is what this pandemic has done for e-commerce. And we see so many new businesses or traditional and brick and mortar businesses now entering e-commerce. Businesses who shied away from e-commerce are now hopeful and enthusiastic about it. And with e-commerce, the challenges of getting receiving payments, getting shipments delivered, they creep in along with the challenge with the ease of delivering products at home. Let's so I think sessions like these, partners like Cashfree and Shiplite, we're here to enable that part of commerce. Excited to be a part of the SME SMB growth journey.
Thanks, Pranay. Very interesting, right? We are at that juncture where the boom in terms of the figures that you said are actually really astounding, and the idea is to how to have a frictionless ecosystem to enable that growth, right? So maybe we can understand the sort of challenges, because as Pranay, you pointed out that we are at X, right, and the projection is saying that we'll go to about 50X, right? So firstly, maybe we can identify the present challenges that are there in terms of both the segments, that is the payments as well as the logistics, and post that, how we can meet the ever growing demand in the coming years. So Pritesh, over to you in terms of what are the challenges in terms of payments that you see that there are in the market today. If you can share your views on the same.
See, I think entire e-com is around convenience. It is around where you really get an experience in place, right? Right. As a customer, when I try to be on e-commerce, I find convenient. I find ease of engaging with the entire portfolio. And when I made up my mind to buy something, and I confirm the line item to buy, and I find my checkout is not so great, right? And followed by logistics. If this entire chain doesn't work properly, it doesn't work seamlessly, then the entire experience for me goes on toss as an even customer, right? And I think that seems to be a biggest concern which is coming up. Like, there are thousands of people hits to the website, they hits to your e-com platform, they try to buy something and they find glitches. They find they are not able to complete maybe checkout, where I think we play a bigger role there, having a seamless checkout, and we remain to be a player there because our success rate is quite high, our speed is very high. But we've seen there are deficiencies which hold back the customer for getting the checkout done appropriately. And finally, it reflects into his overall experience. And we have seen the exist, or rather the exit from there itself. So there are many data which shows from checkout pages how many customers have actually withdrawn. And finally, it's a loss of business, right? You've done everything right, but when the time came, the payment is supposed to happen, it is not got progressed. Maybe your instrument doesn't work, where the integration might not have performed well. Maybe time lag which was there using those instrument has not performed the way it is expected. And or even customer has not got confirmation the payment has been done or not. Right? All this, if this has not been checked well, then the challenge comes. And followed by I think logistics, how the material is moving. Is the stock moving appropriately? Am I getting in the information on time? So I believe if anything goes wrong into this cycle, that really hampered the overall experience for the customer, and he doesn't come back there again. He always try to find another choices, and it's disappointing for the seller, right? He has done everything right, but finally, because one of the piece has not worked properly, he has not got that business in place. And finally, once you create a negative experience in customers' mind, it takes long time to again recreate it. And that's what I believe is a bigger challenge, which lies more into the festive season. The reason is the rush is quite high. Overall hits are very high. And we haven't tested our system. Is it working going to work for 10,000 customers? Is it going to work for 50,000 customers? We don't know, right? And the real test happened where the pressure comes in. So I believe this is something is very, very important.
Right. Thanks, Pritesh, for those views. Pranay, from the logistics point of view, what are the challenges that sellers face?
So, no, I totally agree with what Pritesh said, and the line of thought. The conversation has quickly shifted to consumer experience, with what the leading marketplaces have done for the industry, for the overall enablement of the industry. Uh, what has been the crux of that enablement? I think lies at what has been done for consumers in terms of their checkout experience, as Pritesh said, and in terms of how they receive their shipment, or the overall journey from them seeing a product, via a marketing channel or a campaign, till the point of final delivery of that product. That entire experience has to be very constant. It cannot be that you show a very beautiful advertisement campaign, but the checkout experience has a high failure rate, or the logistics has a high failure rate, or your packaging is not up to the mark. So all this has to be in sync, so that engagement with the consumer, that message to the consumer has to be really constant across all channels, across all different modes of communication, and not just when you're interacting, but indirectly, the brand value, that recall has to be there. Logistics, from the point of view of logistics, let's say, uh, there has to be a continuous information on. So let's say, as a consumer, if I place an order and I'm not receiving any updates from the website, right? If my order is dispatched, if my order is when my order is going to be delivered, or what to expect in terms of, the delivery experience, I'm a little lost. Then I would really accept the product, but there is no brand recall. I wouldn't go back and then place another order. Whereas if that engagement, that communication pipeline is strong, is rock solid, I would remember that, okay, I ordered a, let's say, a shirt, and then I was receiving continuous updates on what's happening with my shirt, on what's happening with my order, right? In case there was a failure, then they updated that, okay, there's a failure and I have to now retry my payment, or there's a failure and instead of today, I should expect the delivery tomorrow. Or and then when you receive the product, the packaging has to be spot on, that there has to be the brand visibility. So it's, and especially with the advent of D2C now, consumer experience, brand recall, these terms, these are very rapidly thrown around. But what we are essentially, boiling down to is the consumer experience. And if they will, I don't want to spend 200 rupees in marketing as a seller, 100 to 100 rupees in a marketing if I do not get a repeat order. So
Right.
how do you get repeat order? I think that should be the question.
Correct. So nice. So the what we can conclude is the customer is the king, right? And it's not only the tangible aspect of delivering the product he wishes, but it's also about the experience in the entire value chain of full actually ordering, the logistic part, and actually the customer receiving it, the product in a feel good factor, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So coming to the scalability, right? Because the idea is that obviously all businesses have a projection that they always do, right? But the magic in these seasons are that you cannot still very accurately describe the rush or the number of orders. And when I said a number of orders, that means the payment ecosystem and the entire the logistic point of view, right? So if Parina, if you can start off understanding that, how do we help sellers to have the comfort that even if the numbers are more than what is projected, I'm still able to give the customer delight, which is what we have been discussing, that is the ultimate goal, to have the customer delight, which in turn leads to a repeat customer, which is the ultimate aim.
So talking specifically about the festive rush, Siddharth.
Yes.
So what goes wrong in the festive rush is, first of all, the timelines. If you're expecting a 3 or 4 or 5 day delivery, and because the entire industry just is on heavy discounts, there are so many promotional activities going on. So the overall parcel volume that moves increases and chokes the infrastructure. So that is why the timeline. So there has to be very clear communication, for example, on the timelines front end. How do you maintain? So in the there has to be, the expectation has to be managed, right?
Correct.
To be very crisp in the communication, that generally I would probably deliver it in 4 days, but because of the festive rush, please expect a delay in your order, let's say, or a 1 day delay in your order, especially pre-COVID or post-COVID. There are still rampant so as Pritesh said, COVID hasn't gone away, right? That we're still up in some sort of a semi-pandemic stage. There still lockdowns still happen in some or some part of the country. So there might be some delays induced due to that. And then obviously, secondly, is what we need to be very cautious of are the cost. So I understand that does not relate to consumer experience, but as an SME, as an SMB, or as a D2C, the cost, that I do not end up spending 2x of what I should be in the festive rush,
Correct.
because that would actually take down my margins or toss up the unit economics. Uh, there's a some
यार
sort
मैंने
of
बोला तो नहीं था
this
सर लगे
Yeah. Can other people go on mute, please?
uh, uh,
Yes, fine. Please carry on.
right. So yes. So one is the consumer experience. So relating to what I was saying earlier, uh, effectively, crisply communicating the delays in timeline that might come in because of the festive rush, and then not only the timelines, that also results to returns. So we are a cash economy, so COD orders are always high.
Yes.
There is UPI now, and there are multiple modes of paying, and you can even pay using a card or a UPI when the delivery boy is standing at your doorstep, but you still are a cash economy. And uh, that is something that we have to accept and acknowledge. And when these timelines, so what happens when you breach a timeline? So breaching this timeline would result into a simple return of the product. Now you've already spent, I don't know, 100 rupees on the marketing, 20 rupees on the packaging, then inventory is stuck, and then you're not even able to realize that revenue, right, until your order gets delivered, especially if it's a COD order. And middle of the festive season, your inventory is now stuck because the return would take a similar amount of time to come back, so you have to invest more inventory to keep the orders rolling. So communication, again, we're coming back to the experience bit, that timelines, experience. Now if I have an experience with, let's say, with an Amazon, I'm willing to wait another day because, okay, I know that that experience is rationalized or marginalized, or I have had previous good experiences,
Right.
or at least I know what to expect in terms of delays, in terms of the product, in terms of the quality of the product. So their brand recall will come with some guarantees. Even there are delays, but you're communicating that this is a delay. So you wouldn't get a return because of that reason.
Correct. So, Paine, I'll come back because you have sort of answered my next question on the reverse logistics. But before that, Pradesh, from the payment perspective, would want to understand what would be your suggestion or guidance for these e-commerce and D2C brands who would want to service their customers. And as Paine rightly mentioned, that the comfort has to be built by these people, right? Because the brand association won't be as strong, and that can only be built. So from the you were talking about the checkout experience, and someone willing to buy a product, taking the pain to either enter the card details, or and if they have a bitter experience there, then it might not, the consumer or customer can go to a parallel website, right? So what would you suggest to sellers at the peak, or just at the onset of peak, in which they would have to set the expectations right in terms of choosing their payment partners?
So Siddharth, I want to keep it very, very simple. Maybe it looks silly also. Let's say, Siddharth, if four of us who are there in the call come to your home without informing you for a tea, do you find any difficulties?
Definitely.
Yeah, but still, I think four of us, I think you will not find difficulties in terms of arranging few things at home, right?
Correct.
But let's say at Cash Free, we decided 100 of people coming to your home without informing you. You will definitely find difficulties. Like it start from what cups you will be offering us, about maybe sugar and everything. And I think it simple goes with business also, right? So we know when there is a rush which will happen, there are probably deficiencies which might come in system. So it's always important how I run my maybe I will say a dry run, wherein I will be checking is my all flows are in place, is my entire, when I'm buying, is my payment, is the timeline which is taking up, it is fine. If I'm using different instruments, is that working fine? Right? When I bought the product, is the way Parinay was saying, is my information system is started working properly? Because I know as per different brand, the trust level depends on how you actually attend the customers, right? So
Right.
these checks are pretty important. These are pretty simple, right? Taking, understanding the load on your e-com platform, understanding all instruments are working fine or not, is your checkout is actually going properly or not. These checks are pretty important for me while I'm getting into a very important season, or I know this is going to be a time when thousands of people are going to hit me. So I can even take help of people who are connected with it, right? I cannot take help of people when I'm actually on, I'm live, and that's going to be a bad time to even get into any correction mode also. So this basic hygiene checks should be done by any e-commerce player whenever he is getting into a very rush season for sure. Second is definitely to connect with the service provider and understand what the consequences which is going to be faced if the load is coming up. Let's say in logistic case, he can have a discussion with Shiplight team and he can understand how I'm going to manage my load. If the load goes up, what the timeline will change. If my customer is getting a delayed delivery, what are your communication cycle runs? So I think these are basic checks and conversations should be taken place, right? And that we do at home also. When we are going to get a 10 guests more, we do that checks. And I believe every seller has to make these checks happens, because once you get a failure and then correction is not possible. You can change everything, you cannot change time. So I believe these are basic checks to happen. And we have seen many of our customers, because we encourage to have this conversation before they get into this traction, and that is something has helped us. Even that helped us to improve our engagement with the customers also, and even to improve on our checkouts also. Yeah, Siddharth, I hope I answered you.
Yes, yes. Thanks, Pritesh, for that. So, Paine, just wanted your opinion, or few of the quick fixes that I'm sure you might be facing real life problems from time to time. Can you just give a few examples of the customization or tweaks that you might have done to solve any real life logistics problem?
Right. So I'll give you a very realistic problem and a solution that we are actually launching this week only. So one of the major, so obviously non-delivery is a major issue, and coordination with the consignees. But another major issue is the non-pickup. And so let's say as a shipper, I've booked a shipment and courier has not showed up, right?
Yes.
But now you will escalate to our team and then they will check with the courier and then get back. So that is a 12 to 16 hour window time lost and hence a delay. Now, if a packet is not dispatched, it will obviously reach a day later or a couple of hours later to your consignee. Hence the um, experience. So what we are trying to do is trying to send pre-intimations to all to actually we have recently started a beta wherein we are sending pre-intimations out to shippers that these are the remarks you received from the couriers, that this is the reason their shipments was not picked. They could not locate the office or whatever remarks, generic remarks. And then, so we reduce that entire duration of a conversation by 16 to 18 hours, hence, reducing an effective business day and get these escalations or these cases resolved faster.
Understood.
So we're trying to call it non-pickup reports. So non-delivery reports is something which is there in the industry for a long time, and this
Right.
is a very small bit of innovation we are trying to bring in. Uh, so this is not a mass rollout right now, but we are doing an internal beta with a limited 10-15 of our users to identify what impact it has. Essentially, we've seen good results so far.
Right.
So
So
hopefully this would also result in some betterment for the festive season, because the on ground logistics is choked right now. And one thing we did back in the day last year was highlighting, so all these pin codes were green, orange, red zones. So we just started highlighting the similar to our shippers, so they're aware which zone they're shipping to, so as to reduce operational issues later. So this is something that we keep continuously doing, be transparent in passing information, be it related to lockdowns or pin codes, or some new features, or essentially trying to ease out a seller's logistic operations at by way of hacking multiple facets of the supply chain.
Understood. No, sounds really interesting, right? So in your example, if you effectively said that you're saving 16 to 18 hours, that's effectively a business day itself, right? And the idea is correct. I think, the POC or MVP, as we call it, right, that we try it out for a limited percentage and then
Right.
extrapolate it basis the results. So really, really interesting. And, that definitely helps the industry overall. Pritesh, coming to, I'll come to you first because Karan already introduced that part, right? The refund part, right? Because if we talk about the customer journey, and one reason what Parene also said is that Amazon is Amazon because of the refund experience also. So can you share a few things that from the payments angle, how or what are the innovations that has been done to streamline the refund journey, right? Just to add, ideally what happens if someone is buying a product, you get debited in real time, right? And when you ask for a refund, you have to wait X number of days. So while obviously the days would be there, but how can we minimize so that the customer gets that experience that when I'm ordering a product, the money is being debited. When I'm asking for a refund, I get it in the shortest possible time.
I think, Siddharth, this is something very interesting, which we seen early 2016 also. If you remember those days, I think the ratio of overall COD order used to be around 80%, right? Or rather 85%. Right. And something which we did interesting, because we've seen it's a pain for the e-com company also, because it's managing its logistic again, managing the entire transaction, reverse it from accounting till the payment is getting processed is something painful for the e-com company, but more importantly for the customer also. He has returned the product and then he don't know is the money is going to come. Second is how the money will be get processed. And there I think our COD refund, and which is also automated one, which is really played a big role. It just started with the COD, and add on to this, I just want to add one element also. How we can even change those COD order into the prepaid orders is something interesting which we did, and I think we have seen successes also. And this is what we always call what value we can add to e-com companies are. So we given them a space wherein they can motivate, or rather they can encourage customer to make a prepaid payment rather than keeping that order COD, right? Even like offering some 2%, 2.5% instant discount and sending that link, are you want to pay it? And we've seen successes also. This is one. So which will not remain, like in terms of COD, this has been addressed. In terms of refund, immediately giving payment links, and wherever the customer want to get that payment done, this is instantly done for the customer, and then the experience is quite amazing. The reason is, while a sale return is not a happy scenario for everyone or anyone, but because the life cycle of the customer is going to be long with you, that experience matters. So our payment link, which is like once your stuff has been taken and immediately the payment get transferred to customer, has been made instantly with payment links. Secondly, wherever customer want that money to be deposited, it is happening instantly also. So the way you said debit has become very instant. So I will say credit has also been made very instant now, which is a happy scenario for the customer.
Right. Thanks, Pritesh.
Adding something to this, I totally agree, Pritesh. Out of question from my side, but this is also that we highly advocate, especially post COVID. Prepaid shipping has obviously increased the percentage of prepaid orders, but there have been examples wherein sellers at Shiplight have asked, how do I increase prepaid orders. Their sellers are more inclined on ordering COD. Sorry, the buyers are inclined more ordering on COD. So what should I do? And the answer is very simple. Probably offer them a discount, 5%, 7%, 10%, whatever suits. Because can try keeping your cost of shipping also lower if your order is prepaid. The chances of it getting delivered are substantially higher regardless of the category. There is some sort of percentage return associated with the returns are undelivered returns associated with the COD orders, whereas prepaid the returns are negligible. It's less than 1%, right? So if you give a 5-10% discount on a 1,000 rupee order value, you're still saving a lot on the COD charge and the return shipping charge, and they obviously lost inventory cost, marketing cost also.
Right, Pranay, absolutely a very valid point. So, from a logistics angle, right? So, of course, from monetarily, you explained really well that how a return order is not a very happy scenario. But from logistics perspective, can you throw some insights on the reverse logistics? Because I've also heard that the cost of shipment from one pin code, the forward shipment to another pin code, is, let's say, X. The reverse logistics cost actually is higher than X. So can you throw some insights on this as well?
Right. So for better clarity, Siddharth, will first understand what is return and what is reverse. So one is when you send a forward shipment, the shipment is undelivered and comes back. That is what we typically in the industry call as a RTO, a return to origin.
Right.
That shipment is undelivered and that cost is either same or less than the forward. Generally, it is same as forward. The scenario that we're talking about is I ordered a shirt, I ordered and I received the product. Now it does not fit, or I don't like the color, or I don't like the design or the quality, and I want the website to take it back. And that is where reverse logistics step in. Now, why the cost is higher is because uh, a resource or a field executive would come to one single point and collect that order, check it, pack it, then bring it back. So, whereas in a forward shipment, that cost is marginalized because he's probably going to pick up 50, 100 shipments in one go. So that is one. Now, as a part of experience, a consumer would expect easy returns. That if I'm able to easily purchase, I should be also able to easily return the product if I don't like it. And that is where the problem comes in. Why do people, I think the question we should be asking is, why do people want to return my product? So it's probably the advertising one, or the packaging, or the labeling. If in a lot of scenarios you've seen the products are not labeled properly, so there are mismatches which occur. At time of dispatches. Stop me if you feel I'm focusing away from the original question.
No, it's informative for everyone.
If you could repeat the original question, I'll try to stick to that.
So the question was that as you said that the transportation leg is already choked because of the number of forward orders, right? So how does the reverse orders? One is of course the cost, but does it let's say out of every 1,000 orders, if there are 100 reverse orders, does the next 1,000 orders also get affected? Because I think the session started with you saying that at the time of placing the order, you give a tentative timeline, the duration when the order would be delivered, right? But if the reverse orders are more, then maybe the timeline goes a bit haywire. So that was the essence of the question.
Right. So to answer that part, no. The order timelines does not go haywire, but yes, the experience does. If I might like the product, but it might not suit my need today as a consumer, purely as a consumer. So if you're especially in apparels or a lifestyle brand, that is where you see the highest returns, right? Apparels, lifestyles, because it is very impulsive shopping still.
Right.
I see a advert and I see, okay, that's a beautiful piece of clothing I want to buy. Now, by the time it reaches me, I don't feel like taking it, receiving it anymore. And that is why but now I've done a prepaid order, I have to receive it. I want to return it for whatever reason. So there are multiple scenarios. I just don't like it. So is there a discount associated incentive that can be done to stop that reverse
Right.
shipment from happening in the first place? Incentivize them with a small coupon like a cart would do. That coupon can be your website credit also. So they get incentivized to purchase another product, probably not from the same category. If I bought a pair of denim, so I could try out a t-shirt. If I in a health segment, if I bought, let's say, coffee, I could next time buy tea, or I could next time buy a mug. I don't know. So that credit, instead of getting that reverse, we could marginalize, give some discount, so that ensures a next order without the additional marketing CAC.
Understood.
So you understand where I'm leading with this.
Yes.
Then obviously, if it's apparel lifestyle, the highest number of reasons we've seen is the product is not what as received, is not what was originally advertised, right? So first is packaging. They don't get impressed with the packaging a lot of times. So they see the consumer might think that the quality of the overall product is not as good as I saw it on the Facebook ad or the Instagram ad, right? And obviously, if your your on ground operation, your dispatch operation is not watertight, there will be mismatches, because you're probably dealing with hundreds of SKUs, right? You might have a simple if I'm dealing with health snacks, for example, I might have a combo of 3, a combo of 4, or let's say a similar looking packing. Now the person packing my product might not be educated to read an English label or a vernacular label in that sense, right? He might just put in a pack of 2 instead of pack of 3, and that is when a reverse would come in. That is when a dissatisfaction would come in. So clearly labeling products inside your warehouse pre-dispatch also is also a very important piece of the business. And reverse logistics, yes, it's a hard task. It is not cost efficient. It is pricey. Yes, agreed. So and although we're working very aggressively towards simplifying that experience, trying to marginalize this cost, but we should be focusing at the actual question: how to reduce my reverse.
Correct. Thanks, Pranay. That helps a lot. Coming from the subject matter expert, it clarifies many things. So Pradesh, one thing that actually while we were doing the PR, there were a few questions also that came in. So from the infra perspective, right? So the question is that what special? Firstly, do we take we increase our infra to support for a specified duration, or is the infra already suited to cater to the surge in demand in terms of the entire payment ecosystem, right? I'm talking about the banks, the networks, the interchange, everyone in the value chain. Do they do something special for this duration of 1 or 2 months, or is the infra such that a 10x or 20x increases anyways implicit in the infra itself?
Yes, Siddharth, I believe they need to check which partner they are dealing with, right? That is most important, right? And this is the time when the real relationship get tested, be it from the perspective of the successes, be it from the perspective of how much scale it can manage. So they need to check what partners they have. Like whenever we engage with customer, we always try to understand what scale he's going to manage for 3 years, and accordingly we propose solutions, and we keep checking on the load which is going on consistently, and accordingly we always keep suggesting the customers. So it is more important from the payment standpoint. You need to check which partner you have been dealing with, right? And is that partner is seamlessly integrated with multiple people around. Let's say I will say Shiplight is there, we've been seamlessly integrated with logistics. So if you can find a solution when you want everything at one window, you can find out cash free there, you will be getting Shiplight along, or other way around also. So it is more important what partner you are dealing with, what is the feedback he has, and what is the experience he has to manage scale, right? We have seen during the season of IPLs, during the season of rush. In both the cases, in terms of payout, also in terms of collections, also we have managed the highest load factors, and it is not because we we've been capable of doing it. That's the way we have been configured by the market itself. That's the way customer has made us. They always kept us pushing forward, saying, "Boss, you have to manage my 1 crore of transaction. You have to manage my 2 crore of transaction." So it is pretty important which partners you have been working with. If you have been in a wrong company, then you cannot expect right results, right? So it is pretty important for anyone. He has to check with his partners, be it payment side, be it the processing side, be it even in terms of who is managing their website infra also. So I think that's pretty important, and I think these are pulses which you always come to know also. When you have part of that journey, there are transactions which comes in place, the situation comes in place, how the partner has responded to that situation, you should always gauge that and decide, right? And that is pretty important to take calls on time. That's what I will suggest.
Right, right. Thanks, Pritesh. So, we have been, asked a few questions from the audience, and I think most of the answers are already being covered during the, replies or the rewards that you are, giving. So, one, common question that has come up is, how can Cashfree and Shiplight together help the sellers in the upcoming season? So, any thoughts from your end, Pritesh, if you can start for this?
See, I believe like cash, like payment and logistic, right? I break business like this. You are shopping shop floor, which I say it's an e-commerce floor. Then finally there is a transaction which takes place. The invoicing happens. Once the invoicing happens, it gets into a payment movement, and once the payment movement happens, it's about the stock should move to the right place where it is been supposed to go, right? And if this is quite integrated, then the entire journey becomes easy for anyone to adopt also, anyone to exercise also. And this something make Shiplight and Cashfree very natural partners, because once the payment movement happens, the next comes in place in terms of logistics. So anybody want to opt for a solution, he is not required to go to two places to evaluate. He will always have something which is already handy and something which is already tested, right? The teams has put in effort to ensure that the entire experience will be seamless, the transactions are happening properly, the movement of information getting shared between these two platforms has been checked properly. So that is something which is readily available. It makes life easy for anybody to opt for, right? So I think that's the way anybody should look at the payment and logistics as one. So it will really help to opt, and it will really help to execute also.
Thanks, Pritesh, for your insights. Pranay, from your end.
I think, Siddharth, you in the initial minutes mentioned that as the e-commerce industry grows, the task of all e-commerce enablers is to ensure that the growth is frictionless, that the movement of information and the movement of the actual product along with that information is frictionless. And I think that is what we as an e-commerce enablers essentially have to achieve and are striving to achieve: frictionless data flow and frictionless delivery of packages end of the day, as Pritesh also said. I'm not sure what could be the collaboration points. We could get creative with that, probably help ease out payments for reverse orders or return of money for prepaid orders in a single click via deeper integration. Just thinking out loud here. But yes, I think as Pradesh said, having been talking and being present and available for the shipper at Shiplight, the primary focus, me being an ex e-commerce shipper myself, and the other founders being from the same industry, we've done things, been there, seen how, dispatched orders by our own hands, packed order by our own hands. So we understand the pain of, e-commerce as a whole and not just shipping. And the ecosystem that we are trying to build here together, all of us partners, is very essential for an e-commerce business to run, survive and strive. Because in absence of this ecosystem, would probably go back half a decade, wherein getting a prepaid payment or making a seamless delivery seemed impossible. Or doing or being a D2C brand, or having your own website would really seem impossible, because you would have to spend custom I don't know, hundreds, thousands of rupees, lakhs of rupees in getting your own customized website, and then finding the right courier partner, and then having a team to manage that logistics, and having to reconcile all your payments with the bank, probably going to the bank to, or Buildest or someone else to get a payment gateway. I don't know how hard that was. But all of us being here, players like larger players who help, players like Shopify, who help get websites up and running overnight, players like Cash Free, like Shiplight, who respectively help ease out payments and shipping. So I think this ecosystem has to interact a lot more.
Correct.
And as you said, quoting you again, strive towards making the entire commerce frictionless.
Correct. Absolutely. So, like it's about the core competency, right? So you choose the right partners, and we do our part, and that makes the entire value chain very seamless. Great. I think we have had a good session. Questions, I think we have answered almost all. So maybe we can have the closing perspective from both of you. Pritesh, if you would want to share your let's say the conclusion, and if there are any other points you want to touch upon.
No, Siddharth, I think we are able to put the base of it. I'm sure this conversation will add value to people who will be definitely hearing this out. And for me also, listening Parinay is having certain point for me also in terms of partnership, because right, these are partnership can be only been successful if we keep engaging with each other. And being the way you said, being a thought leader or maybe a subject leader, we can definitely add value to all the merchants to make things more effective. One is getting the product integrated, creating a seamless solution. But if we are not able to take it to the people around, it will not create great value to anyone. So I think that's something learning for me as well. I hope what could able to be we are able to share, it must be adding some value to people who will be listening to this. But for me, lot many learning from this session. Thanks to everyone there.
Thanks, Pritesh. Parin, a few words from you.
No, it was truly a pleasure, and the possibilities today are endless, and exciting at the same time. Where we head after this pandemic, and how e-commerce now was broken down in the first 3 months and has now been reborn and reshaped post pandemic. This is a story in itself. I think what we are focusing on as products, and Pritesh had a very deeper learning in the past 20 years of his experience. Uh, so strategically aligned, yes, obviously have to be to survive, to sustain, and to continuously serve, which I think is paramount, because if you're not able to serve, then we are not essentially fulfilling the purpose. Because as I keep calling ourselves e-commerce enablers, if we're not enabling, then we're not serving.
Yeah.
And that remains the key to be able to sustain in a cutthroat market like this today. Obviously, to an ending note, just I would like to touch upon quickly what we are planning to do or continue to do in the coming year. Probably not just for Diwali, but for the Diwali next year, is try to focus more upon the seller experience, try to focus more upon how we can enhance the seller's consumer experience, the end consumer's experience. And I cannot stress on how heavy we are right now from the technology point of view, and how we can leverage probably technology for enhanced experience for the end consumer, and make that shipping process even seamless and easier with every passing day. That would be my closing submission.
Thanks, Pranay.
And absolutely a pleasure, Siddharth, Pritesh, interacting with you today. Learned a lot. It would definitely take a lot of things home, and come back with a fresh new day tomorrow to try to implement some of these in the actual real world platforms that we operate day in and day out.
Thanks, Pranay. Pleasure myself as well, and nice to see that while both of us, our business model is more suited towards the B2B companies, but we both have the end customer in mind, right? And how do we make that experience for the end customer is something nice to see that across various industries, it is the end customer who is like the ultimate focus, and keeping him as the focus, we try to walk backwards and see how we can optimize the entire process. So really nice to see that even in a complementary sector, the focus is there, which is actually a change, right? Because earlier it was who is your partner, you used to just solve their problem statements, right? And maybe that was not a change that the end customer was getting benefited by. And interactions such as this and many others have shown that when you think of the customer, the end customer, and you put him at the center and try to build everything around him, it does do wonders in the entire value chain. Great. With that, I think we come to the end of the session. Again, Pritesh and Pranay, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy calendar, that too right at the onset of the festive season. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Siddharth.
Thank you for inviting, Siddharth. Always a pleasure. Thank you, everyone attending. Have a happy Diwali. Stay safe.
Thank you. Same to you and to everyone.